welcome to a little bit of Impact Wrestling. A very interesting show. Has a few good things to it. A few things you're like, why? And a big ass question. This is the biggest damn question you ever had with TNA right now. This is the biggest question that we just got presented with. But let's look at everything else first. Opening Jordynne Grace. Now, I'm not having a problem seeing Jordynne opening the show. Nothing wrong with having either Moose or Jordynne open the show because that's not a bad thing. And we get her opening talking about, I know not many people are going to be happy about this. This is about a Ash of Elegance. I know you guys are not fond of her. No one said it, but I'm sure there's many that are not fond of Ash. They don't really care about Ash. They think she's no match for any of the other women on the roster. But she's there. She's a character, guys. Remember, Ash is a character. That is her whole stick. She's not a wrestler per se. Not saying she can't go in the ring and do some decent work. She is a character-driven wrestler. More than a wrestler-driven wrestler. And seeing that they're setting something up with her and Ash, she wanted to give her the match now because she got pissed off. Because Ash pissed her off. So Ash comes out with the Iceman in a one of these things, like one of those neck braces, just kind of like Jim Cornette, but at least a little bit more realistic. Instead of just the strap thing, he had the actual neck contracting thing, looking like this. But he made it very clear, Ash is not wrestling tonight. We had our lawyers look over the contract, and we will be doing it at Slammiversary. And the best thing is Ash of Elegance will be taking a vacation, which Todd is going, what? She's taking a vacation? Yeah, she's taking a vacation. Let me give it to you like this. Seeing at least 3 guys get their butt kicked by Jordynne Grace is believable. And no, not everyone's going to agree with me because of how tall Jordynne is. She's 5'3". Yes, we know she's 5'3". But she has legitimately weightlifting championships under her belt. She actually has I believe a Guinness World Record for, Georgia or Virginia? For lifting the most weight in her class. So, I think she did a world record. Not a world record with Guinness. My mistake. I'm probably wrong. But she is legitimately a powerlifter who did some bodybuilding, who has shown she can lift guys that are easily her own weight. That's it. She lifted those guys who were not much heavier than herself. She didn't have big guys next to her. And understand, her ass lifted Bully Ray and gave him a juggernaut driver. Yes, he had to jump up, but she had to make it look good. She had to lift him at least high enough to make it look good. He couldn't just jump. I'm telling you, the woman legitimately is very strong for her size. So seeing her take out 3 security officers security is perfectly fine. I can believe that because we've seen it over the years. They've shown evidence on their YouTube channel. This freaking woman, and on Impact itself, this woman is so damn strong, she can lift weights that most women would get crushed by. She's not a weak woman. So if you think this is not something you can believe, forget it. Because they've shown the proof over the years that she legitimately is a very strong woman. As I've said before, this is the second coming of China. This is what Jordynne Grace is. The second coming of China. It's not Jade Cargill. It is not a... Who is out there that could take that moniker? Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair. You could say a... Well, we haven't seen her yet. We have not seen Camille. So you can't really just say Camille. So I do believe Jordynne is the most strongest woman you could see. So I believe it. That was good to see. It was nice to see in Chicago. Next, let's go for the first match. We got really a match that doesn't really mean much because since Steph Delander has been taken out by AJ Francis, it's not like Zara Brookside is trying to get a shot at the system's Knockouts Tag Championships. Even though she went up against a Marsha Slamovich and Marsha whooped that ass, it doesn't mean it would have gave her a match anyway, because this is in the singles match, is going for a singles title. So there's nothing there. But it is good to see that they are doing something with Xia Brookside, and they're doing something with Marsha, but then they're not, because Marsha's not part of the system. She's not. If she was part of the system, which she should be, it would make perfect sense. They should have Marsha and Alicia, but they want to make it about Alicia all by herself. So, since Alicia's no match for Juggernaut Driver, this is what we get. Next, ABC versus the Rascals versus Jake and Cody Deaner. Now, when I saw this triple threat, I'm going like, wait, are they going to be doing something for Slammiversary? Are they setting something up? No. ABC has I'm botching here, because when you think about this rematch clause, that is many months in the making, this contractual rematch clause. It's just like, they dragged it out a lot to try and build a story of something going on with Ace and Bay, and honestly, it wasn't a bad thing, but it really didn't help the division itself. What did we really get with the tag division? Not much. And I'm not going to lie to you. Seeing that Jake, cousin Jake, and Cody are working together, as long as they make it infrequent, I don't have a problem. But my first reaction is no. I know everybody else is saying, oh, maybe they could get the Deaners back. No. I do not want the Deaners back. I do not want cousin Jake to become cousin Jake again. He is Jake something. He's become very prominent as Jake something. If anybody wants the Deaners back the way they were before, joking around and being silly, you just buried Jake something. And that's stupid. I'm not saying you're stupid, but that thought is stupid. Because Jake worked so hard to get Jake something over. And you wouldn't just whip it away with and getting angry. When I get angry, I botch. You want to sweep that mess away. I don't want that. I want to keep Jake something as Jake something. Cody is doing something interesting with the fans, like he did, talking about, if we win this match, we may get a number one contender shot for the tag titles. But he said it's not about me. It's not about what my cousin wants or me. It's about what the fans want. It's not one of the greatest gimmicks we ever seen Cody Deaner do. But it's not bad. But I'm going to tell you this, that is eventually going to get tiring soon. Let's make it clear. Something has to happen to Cody. Something. I don't know what it is. It would have been interesting if he had a feud with Jake something. And it wasn't about seeing a bad guy versus a good guy. This is about a cousin who was stabbed in the back by his other cousin, and they had to work it out. It didn't mean they had to team up afterward once they worked it out. But I think they could have stretched this to Slammiversary, and they could have had a culmination of Jake something versus Cody Deaner, a match where they finally settled their differences, and we got to see them hug as family. That would have been a much more better story than what we've been getting for the last couple of months. That's just me. I'm just being honest here. In the end, ABC won. I'm not surprised because they got a rematch clause, and it makes no sense for any of the others to actually get it. The Rascals made no sense. Neither did Jake and Cody. And it felt wasteful. It felt wasteful. This could have been set up for the next tag number one contendership. Why didn't they set that up? Because it wasn't being set up for that. Because they could have said, this is a setup for after Slammiversary, because we're going to have it on the 20th. This will be the next team that will face the new tag champions. Moving on. Third match. The first to road to Slammiversary, we got Macklin versus Sami Callihan. I'm saying this. It was good to see Macklin. It was good to see Sami. They work pretty well together. And I wish there was a story behind them working together. Because I do believe Macklin working with Sami would actually have a good story. Macklin can talk well. Sami can talk well. Macklin can do a good match. Sami can do a good match. And I would have liked to see Steve and Sami build something. But because this is the road to Slammiversary, who is going to get into that six-man tag, well, not six-man tag, but six-man match to try and become the next champion, it just feels like it's a waste. And I think the main reason it's frustrating for me is because, look guys, what we're talking about here is almost the entire roster that they're willing to show is on the show. If there are other people in the back, like Kevin Knight, like, what was that other guy's name? I forgot his name. There's another one who's brand new. I think his name is Slater. It's just, and Reed as well, counting if he's ever going to stay there. We don't see them often. And the problem here is that I would rather see these established wrestlers do storylines and this type of tournament to do new guys. And we're not doing that. If anybody says, oh, this is fine, we got enough. Really? How many people do you see on the roster that's shown most of the time? How many people do we see on the main roster of TNA? We see the same people who have gotten the same accolades. Either they got X Division accolades, they got tag accolades, they got world accolades. We have an entire roster of people who have done everything already. We need new people to come in to do new stuff. We need more people to come in and do more stuff. So it will balance out. If you got the same people at the top constantly, it feels boring. And I'm not saying that people here are boring, but you get my point. You're doing a Road to Slammiversary. Why not let the new people have a couple of spots and make it about them? Bring a couple of veterans in to go with them. Yes, they can get beat. Fine. The veterans go up. But you got what? I think you got Slater. You got Kevin Knight. You got Kushida. Yes, he's well known and established, but barely's been used in TNA much. You got, I think, a guy named Reed. He was in MLW. You got still a few members of your roster that you rarely show, counting if they are around, because, as you already know, which I've told you multiple times, TNA, former Impact Wrestling, does not hire much, or worse yet, the wrestlers themselves don't believe it's necessary to stay with the company because either they're not getting paid a lot, or they're not going to be putting any prominent storylines for very long anyway, because TNA doesn't care about doing long storylines for minor stories. Why? Why are they not doing more better storytelling, not just with the main stories, but the minor ones? There's almost no minor stories. Look, what do they have? The story for a Josh Alexander to get to the top. The system. Jordan Grace's story. Ash by Elegant story. What else? Almost nothing. Nothing for the tag division. Yeah, you did have ABC kind of going against each other to try and get themselves back on the same page. And PCO with Staff DeLander with AJ Francis. But what about everything else? What about for the divisions? Guys, if the divisions don't have stories, does the divisions actually mean anything whenever you show them? That's just straight matches. And people want more. I'm just saying, moving on. The next match. You got Kushida versus Alan Angels because of what happened with Soundcheck last week, talking about what were you doing, digging your hand into the mouth of Jonathan Gresham and trying to find out what is that weird ink problem he has. Good match. Kushida and Alan Angels were good wrestlers. Seeing the hoverboard lock put on to an Alan Angels, I have no problem with. But I felt that Jonathan Gresham has to come out, and Gresham did. He was about to spit down the mouth of Kushida again, and they literally had to grab him and pull him back. And they had gloves on, they had masks on, and I gotta say this because I had to think about this. What are we really getting with Jonathan Gresham? Guys, this is the first legitimate COVID-19 style type of storytelling. And let's make this clear. Guys, if you don't think I'm right, fine. Tell me why I'm wrong. But look at how Jonathan Gresham is. They're talking about Jonathan. Something's wrong with him. Something strange is going on with him. And I'm not telling you this is directly going to be genetic engineering or genetics that something's wrong with him. He has COVID-19 in the story. But taking what real life gives and that pro wrestling takes. Remember, pro wrestling takes real life. as one subscriber talked about in his comments, talking about what was going on in WWE TKO. And talking about what's going on with Vince, and they're kind of interjecting that into this storytelling, and not many people like it. Well, tough titty, because they do that. Look what happened when it came to the Iraq War in the 1990s. When Desert Shield, I believe it was called, not Desert Storm. They had one before that, Desert Shield. Later they had Desert Storm. You saw what happened when it came to the Sheik, when it came to Hulk Hogan, when it came to Sergeant Slaughter. He changed sides. Then eventually, Ivan, I forgot his name. It's been so long. The own God, you know how he is. They had Russia and America team up to go against the Middle Easterners, one of them being Sergeant Slaughter. Real life can be brought into pro wrestling. And in this situation, with WWE, TKO, WWE, I keep saying that sometimes. When it comes to TKO, they're going to do whatever it takes to make money. They will. And I did hear something going on with Triple H. Do not leave a comment, please, telling me about Triple H and what's going on, the misinformation or mistreatment of talent. I'm saying it now. If you leave me anything talking about Triple H, I'm going to delete the comment before I read it. I'm not being mean to you, but in this situation, I really want to wait. Please do not leave a comment about what's going on with Triple H. Don't ask me about Triple H. I want to just wait a little while before this happens. I know I don't normally delete comments. It's not my way. But this time around, what's going on in TKO WWE and misleading or mistreating talent, do not tell me what's going on. If anybody leaves a comment, I will delete it. I will. I'll have the tendency, if I see Triple H's name in it, I will want to read it. And this time, I'm going to have to delete it. Because I will read it and it will mess me up. I want to wait a little bit before I make my own thoughts on it. But please, don't. But, going back to Jonathan Gresham, it makes sense to do some type of angle where someone is sick with something similar to COVID, that they have to have the gloves on, they got to have the mask on, they can't touch them too much. Something that can make another wrestler, or in this case, one wrestler and one ref, sick. And where they're going to go with it. So, if you don't like this storyline with Jonathan Gresham and his character, tough. I'm sorry. But you cannot deny this is probably the first one ever done on a major promotion, not independent. Major promotion that's being seen on TV. Unless the others are doing it, which is not being reported, guys. Remember, they're not reporting this. This might be the first one we see on TV that may actually mean something. Moving on. Final match. Another match for the Road to Slammiversary. Nick Nimitz versus Rick Swann. Now, you guys tell me below. Does Rick Swann actually look like he's in more better shape? Because, as you know, Rick at one point had a bit of a pot belly. Unfortunately, I have a little bit one. Luckily, I'm not like this. I'm not like this far from my stomach. I just got a tiny one. I'm actually pretty skinny for my size. But he used to have a belly. And he didn't look like he was keeping himself in shape. But after going with AJ Francis, when right around the time of AJ, he was beginning to change his shape. He looked like he was beginning to get abs. Now, he obviously looks like he's got abs. It looks like he got himself in some better shape, which I'm happy for him. Because that'll make him more better in the ring. Because he used to get tanked a bit. Even though he did great work, you could tell he was getting tanked. But this is the first time Nick and Rick have ever worked together. Not just in TNA, but I think ever. Because when Rick Swann was in WWE, I don't think he even had a chance to go up against Nick Nimitz. Unless it was in a house show. No one generally saw them ever interact with each other. So seeing this, they got good chemistry. They do. Now, did they have a lot of start and stops? Yes. That's part of the style they both do. Was there a lot of kicks? Yes, that's what their styles do. But it wasn't a bad match at all. It was a good match. And I can easily tell you, you can enjoy that match. It wasn't the greatest match, but it was a good match. And I do believe if they ever work together more often, you will see them really begin to pull something out of each other, because I've known Rick Swann for many years. He's a very good wrestler. He is. And Nick has been known, you're in trouble, break glass, pull him out to do the job. And he always does it. Whether you like him or not, he always was known to be great. So the match goes on. The match was good. In the end, I did also like the vid pack before the match. So it wasn't bad for both of them. That meant a lot to me, that they gave a vid pack. Unlike what AEW's been doing on and off, where they don't give vid packs. Look, the wrestlers from CMLL don't get vid packs barely at all. The wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling barely get anything or none at all. It's just sad. But we got that, and Nick wins. He's moving on to the 6-man eliminator. I think that's the name of it. Now, let's see here. I'm going to tell you this. Ali's statements and attitude and attacking of a fan was good. I liked it. Seeing that Speedball Mike Bailey, and there's someone who wants me to say the opposite, not happening. I'm not saying Speedball Mike Bailey's reverse name because there's no Jeff Hardy. There's no Matt Hardy. I will get to Rebecca in a minute with Jeff and Matt, but no, not doing it. But I enjoyed the segment. Was it perfect? No, but it was not bad. The problem I think I have is Campaign Singh being there. Because honestly, he's not doing a bad job, but he feels like he's not doing much anyway. He's just a background character. And I've never seen him actually do anything more substantial. He's always been a lackey. He's always been not Satnam Singh, but I forgot, his father's son. Or he worked with Shira. And even though he was in front, he didn't really feel substantial. And the rumors at one point that we were going to get Jinder Mahal, which is his actual cousin. If Jinder shows up, Raj is going to be a background character again. If Jinder ever shows up at TNA. I don't know if he'll do well there, but it depends on how they book him. Because if they book him like they did in WWE, when it was WWE before TKO, not many people are going to care about him doing these stupid Americans. They ain't going to like seeing that garbage. They want to see something different from him. But you never know. Now, let's get to this. I gotta say this. As you see from the title, a new championship. Are we getting a new championship? AJ Francis with a Dropkin, DJ Dropkin, when the match was going on, when it came to Nick, as well as for Rick Swann. He was there, along with AJ Francis. They got ejected. But the thing here is that before this even happened, Dropkin brought a title to AJ Francis. He bought a title from Canada. I don't know if it was in Stampede Wrestling or not. Maybe it might have been a Stampede Wrestling Championship. But he bought a title that had lineage going back to 1935. That thing is only a few years. Well, let me give it to you like this. My mother was born 1929. My biological father was born 1933. And that thing was created in 1935. That thing was almost 90 years old. And now AJ Francis bought one. And they stuck it on his shoulder along with the Digital Media Championship. So it makes you wonder, dude, what happens if they decide to bring in a new title, a real mid-card title that has real lineage, even if it's debunked? It doesn't have to be debunked. If it was recognized in Canada, it could still be recognized anywhere as long as you present the lineage of that title. What they say, like what happened with Jade Cargill. One of the major reasons she had a major problem when she was TBS champion was that the title that she claimed was a brand new title with no lineage and no one before her doing the job for her, giving her rub. She had no rub. She got a title that was so new and she was so green that both of them only could be elevated to a certain extent. Now we're talking about a title that the International World Heavyweight Championship that might have been from Stampede Wrestling. I don't know. You guys can tell me where it came from. But it's a 1935 title that it looks like is not being used anymore. And now they got one. Or the original one. I don't think it's the original one. It's probably a replica. But they got one. And we've been screaming for decades a real mid-card title, because we've had the main title and we had the X Division that generally was a mid-card title that's supposed to be basically a lower card title that is a mid-card. So now we got the Digital Media Championship and the the International Heavyweight Championship. Now, either one or two things may happen. They may combine the titles, making it the TNA International Digital Championship, or, which I would hope they would do, they get rid of the Digital Media Championship and use the International Heavyweight Championship as its own title. Put the X Division as a mid-card, but make the TNA International Heavyweight Championship the lower card title, because the X Division's always been the mainstay. It should always stay like that, unless you want to bring it in for new people and keep it that way. So it would become the lower card title, the X Division, which I don't think anybody's going to be happy about. And the TNA International World or International Championship, they will shorten it. That would be the best option. There's nothing wrong with having an international championship. It doesn't matter about AEW having an international championship. This is TNA's version of that title. There's nothing wrong with it. They shouldn't bother them. They should do it. But this is just me. Peace.